Hi, this is Greg Witt with Alpenwild. Here we are in Zermatt. This is one of my favorite places in the entire world. It's a busy, busy place. And Zermatt's a car-free village, so everybody gets to the hotel either by taxi or by walking. Now, one thing I'll mention right at the very start is I want to help you make the very most of your trip to Zermatt. And so one thing I'll mention is if you're coming to Zermatt, always plan on staying at least 2 nights. The reason why is if you come here and just stay 1 night, you may never see the Matterhorn. You'll arrive late in the afternoon, may depart early in the morning. So stay 2 nights and you'll have a full day to not only see the Matterhorn, but enjoy all there is to see and do here in Zermatt. So leaving the train station, now we walk up Bahnhofstrasse. And most tourists that come to Zermatt spend just 1 day here, and they spend all their time walking up and down the main shopping street. But that's not you. You're a more immersive tourist. You're gonna stay here several days and see it all. So let's walk up Bahnhofstrasse, and we'll take it from there. As we walk up the main street of Zermatt, you walk towards the church, and before you arrive at the church, on your right-hand side, you'll see the Hotel Monte Rosa, and that's where we begin our historical understanding of Zermatt. Zermatt was a sleepy little alpine hamlet going back 1,000, 2,000 years ago. Even going back 1,000 years ago, Zermatt had about 100 different farm buildings around and a resident population of maybe 25, 30 families. But it wasn't until the early 19th century when people started to travel, and it was particularly the English. The English loved finding new destinations on the continent that they were able to travel to that they weren't able to travel to before the Napoleonic Wars. And one of them was Zermatt. And it was the son of an English engraver. His name was Edward Whymper, and he came to Zermatt in 1864 and 1865, and he was doing engravings of Zermatt. He had a series called Scrambles Amongst the Alps. And when he came here, he stayed at the Hotel Monte Rosa. Now, it's much larger now than it was in Whymper's time. At that time, it was maybe only 6 or 8 rooms, but he stayed there. Now, it was thought that the Matterhorn was unclimbable. Not that anyone had tried it, it just looked so much more difficult and awe-inspiring than any of the other peaks around here. And so he climbed it then, and he made his plans to ascend from the Swiss side, even though the Italian side looks easier. And he planned his attempt right here at the Hotel Monte Rosa. Across from the Zermatt Museum is the Church of St. Maurice. And this church, there's been a church on this site since 1575, although the building you see today was built in 1913 to accommodate a growing Zermatt with more visitors, more tourists. So let's continue our story about the first ascent to the Matterhorn. So Edward Whymper goes to the Hotel Monte Rosa, and he meets up with a French climbing guide, and that man's name was Michel Croix. So it was on July 15th, 1865, the Whymper and Croix and 2 local mountain guides, Peter Tugbalder, father and son, and Reverend Hudson and Hadow and Douglas came here. 7 of them went to ascend the Matterhorn. They left on the night of the 14th and spent the night of the 14th up there, and then climbed up the ridge of the Matterhorn that faces Zermatt. No one had ever tried that before. And they got to some difficult points, and pretty soon started to level off. They made a mad dash, Whymper and Croix, for the summit. And they said in characteristic mountaineer humility that we arrived there together. There was no one that was first. But this triumph of climbing the Matterhorn was mixed with tragedy. And on the descent, it was led by Croix and Hadow and Hudson and Douglas. And one of them lost their footing and pulled the other 2 off the mountain. And finally, Croix, who was on top, had them all on a rope, he couldn't sustain the fall of those 3 climbers, and he was taken away too. And then up at the top was Peter Tugbalder, and he instinctively wrapped the rope around a rock to try to break their fall, and the rope just snapped. So one thing is, if you go to the museum, you'll see that frayed rope, and you'll recognize, if you're a mountain climber, that we would never climb a mountain you wouldn't hang laundry on a rope that fragile. So continue walking down the left side, or the west side of the river, and when you come to Le Mazeau, the restaurant, make a sharp left, and we'll take you into the hidden Zermatt. This fountain and this plaque commemorate one of Zermatt's great mountaineers, but one you may not have heard of before. His name is Ulrich Interbienen, and he was famous for having climbed the Matterhorn over 390 times as a guide. And he didn't own a telephone. If you wanted Ulrich to be your guide, you go meet him on the church steps and say, let's go climb the Matterhorn. He'd take you up. So from the statue, look to the bench on your left, and you'll see that Ulrich Interbienen died at the age of 103 in the year 2004. Good long life for a mountain climber. So we'll conclude our walking tour of Zermatt right here in this historic area, giving you an idea of what Zermatt was like 300, 400, 500 years ago, just 50 feet from the main shopping street. Zermatt has obviously changed and grown immensely over the last 150 years since the first climbing of the Matterhorn, and part of that involves lots of tourists coming to Zermatt. Zermatt's always busy. Zermatt has a resident population of about 5,800 people, but they have over 15,000 hotel beds. So that gives you an idea of how busy Zermatt is year-round. Both winter and summer, Zermatt is hugely popular, and that's when all the tourists are here. So you can kind of plan your travels around that timetable. Well, this is Greg Witt, Alpenwild. See you in the Alps.